Are you tired of feeling like a broken record with your family and wondering why all your well intentioned advice falls on deaf ears? In today's episode, we're breaking down essentials of effective family communication. You'll discover practical strategies to enhance your interpersonal skills and create that more harmonious home we are all looking for. Hey, parents, welcome to Fulfillment Therapy. Do you want to raise your kids better and have a stronger marriage? Are you up late at night researching marriage and parenting tools and self care tips? Do you start each day hoping for deeper connections and less chaos, but it ends with family arguments and going 12 different directions again? My name's Kendra, wife, mom, therapist, and growth enthusiast. It wasn't until I discovered how to fulfill my unmet needs that I was finally able to show up as my best self as a spouse and parent. I realized that by meeting my needs, I could more fully meet the needs of my family with more energy and less resentment. In this podcast, I teach parents skills like boundary setting, prioritizing personal needs, communication, and claiming ownership. Just like my clients, you'll be shocked by the improvement in your marriage, parenting, and personal life when you focus on fulfilling your important unmet needs. Ready to prioritize yourself so you can quit mentally throat punching people? Then grab those earbuds and head outside, and let's walk and talk. Welcome back to Fulfillment Therapy, the podcast for parents seeking to enhance their mental health, wellness, and life fulfillment. I'm your host, Kendra Nielsen, and today we're exploring that crucial aspect of family dynamics, which is interpersonal intelligence. When to bring up problems with your spouse and your kids. I've been thinking a lot about this recently as I go in the community often, and you're at the grocery store and you're watching these exchanges between different people. And not only there, but other places in the community recently. And I've just been thinking, man, this is such a key aspect that people don't understand. And if they could do this one thing a little bit better, which I'll explain more in a minute, how much more peace there would be in homes. Now, I'm not saying I nail this all the time either, but I feel like this is one thing I get right when it comes to when to talk about those problems and how to do it effectively. So, we're going to talk about that today. And I want to start with a little scenario for you to imagine. So, just imagine that it's a Monday morning. Let's say Emma is a working mom and she is rushing to get everyone out the door. She's already late. Maybe her smoothie spilled on her shirt and her kids are fighting again. And she's just venting her frustrations to her husband, let's say Jordan. And her husband, Jordan, decides that this is maybe the perfect moment to mansplain or lecture her about her time management or not doing something that she should have done. And Emma just clenches her jaw and feels herself getting irritated, but she bites her tongue because she doesn't want to start an argument when she's already running late. But she leaves feeling unheard and resentful, and nothing gets resolved. She just feels alone and frustrated. Maybe this scenario sounds familiar to you, or maybe you watch that happen between your spouse and your kids. Or honestly, if you're being very honest with yourself, maybe it's something you notice in yourself, like over lecturing, over explaining, picking the wrong times to give feedback or constructive criticism. This example highlights a common issue in family communication, and that's the lack of interpersonal intelligence when addressing these problems, especially at home. If you don't know, interpersonal intelligence is the ability to understand and interact with other people effectively, being able to recognize their moods and their temperaments, their motivations, their intentions. Really do think about this quite a bit every time we're trying to get kids out the door and on the bus. And it makes me laugh a little bit that people don't get this key concept. I'm not going to name names or say anything, but I just think this could be buttoned up a little bit more. And I have to look inwardly too, because there's definitely times that I do it. And I would say for me personally, sometimes I'm less effective with this with my spouse. And I do a pretty good job with this with my kids. And with my husband, I think it can be maybe switch. It just depends. But let's explore some key aspects of interpersonal intelligence that will really help you in these scenarios. I'm going to start by asking you a few questions you can ask yourself to determine if you have that interpersonal intelligence. So, the first question you can ask yourself is, do you find yourself giving unsolicited advice frequently? So, this is when other people are not asking for it, you're just giving it. Are your attempts to help often met with frustration or resistance, whether from your kids, your spouse, maybe even friends, family, whoever it might be? Do you struggle to read the emotional state of your family members or other people in the room? Are your conversations with your spouse or your kids often tense or unproductive? And do you feel like you're repeating yourself without being heard? I feel like I hear a lot of clients say that part. I feel like I'm just a broken record and nobody's listening to me. If you answered yes to several of these things, it might be time to focus on enhancing those interpersonal skills. And my friends, you are not alone. We are all there. Sometimes we do better, sometimes we do worse. And if we're not feeling well, especially I notice with a lot of my anxious or depressed parents, they do this more because they're often problem focused and they just keep going to this space and it's just not landing. So that comes up more during certain times, depending on our own emotional state. So I'm just going to give you a few tips for more effective family communication, and this can help in every aspect of your life. The first and foremost thing I want to talk about is choosing the right time. It is so simple, and yet a lot of people don't think about it. I'm going to give you an example here. So instead of critiquing your kids' homework habits right after school, wait until after dinner when they're more relaxed and receptive. I think about the timing often, especially like I said, when the kids are getting on the bus, and it is not the time to talk to them about chores after school, about things that are coming up, about how they didn't do their job very well the night before, or leaving a mess in their room. It is just not the time. So please respect that. It is so important. The second thing you can do is create a safe space. So I'm going to give you an example here for this. You could be establishing a weekly family meeting where everyone feels comfortable sharing their concerns without judgment, and it's not going to lead into this big fight or this big ordeal or this big lengthy thing. It's just an established time. The next thing you can do is practice that active listening. So when your spouse is sharing work frustrations, please resist the urge to offer solutions. I know I get stuck in this myself. Instead, validate their feelings by saying things like, "That sounds really hard. Wow, that was a really big day. How did you feel about that?" Or asking them an open ended question afterwards, showing that you are more engaged. The next thing you can do should not come as a surprise. It's something that I often go back to, and that's using I statements. It's just something that is missing from so much dialogue in homes. So rather than saying, "You never help around the house," you could say something, "I feel overwhelmed when I have to manage the household chores alone, and I could really use some help." Something like that, where it has that I feel component to it. Another very important thing you can do is be mindful of nonverbal cues. For example, if your teen comes home with some slumped shoulders and a frown, it's probably not the best time to talk about their grades. Makes sense, right? But how many of us actually follow those cues and use that for information to guide us in how we respond to them? All right, here's another tip. Offer choices and not commands. So instead of demanding that your child clean their room, ask, "Would you prefer to tidy your room now or after dinner?" When I give them choices, they are so much more receptive. Now, does that mean they never complain? No, it does not mean that. But they complain less when they feel like they have some control. The next thing you can do is acknowledge efforts and not just results. This was game changing for me as well. So when your spouse attempts to cook a new recipe, focus on their effort rather than the outcome. This is something I have not nailed, definitely, and I could use some work on this still too. So you could say something like, "I appreciate you trying something new for dinner. Thanks for putting things on the table. It is so nice to not have to cook so much." Another thing you can do that I love to utilize, and my husband started doing this from my example because it works well with almost everyone. You can use humor appropriately. The key here is appropriately. So lighten up those tense moments with some gentle humor, but be careful not to use sarcasm or mock sensitive issues. My kids are really receptive to this, but I do have to scale back if they feel like I'm not listening to them. So make sure you're using it appropriately because it can very much lighten things up, especially with me and my spouse. When you can make the other person smile, it doesn't feel so intense. Another tip is you can practice empathy. So if your child is upset about not being invited to a party, resist that urge to minimize their feelings. I see this all the time with my clients. Just like, you're fine, it's fine. They want to push past those feelings and they don't validate their kid. But as they learn to validate them, so many times that issue is resolved because that child just wants to feel heard and understood and that they're not alone, just like we do when we talk to other people. So remember that. You could say something like, "It hurts to feel left out. I felt that way too. I'm sorry you're having to experience that." And last but not least, be patient and persistent. For example, if your initial attempt to discuss an issue with your spouse doesn't go well, don't give up. I have my clients try again and again. I had one client that's been trying to do couple audits or these couple meetings each week for probably 4 or 5 times. And she said every time it ends in an argument. And I validated her feelings and was kind about it. But I said, this is great practice and a great way to determine if you're utilizing those things that we talk about in session. So I want you to keep trying, and we're going to keep fine tuning that and finding out what's going wrong, and then try again. If that discussion with your spouse doesn't go well, try again at a better time and maybe say the next time, I know our last conversation didn't really go very well. Can we try again when we're both feeling calmer? And then do try. Don't avoid it, but do try and maybe set a timer. Like I have my clients set timers a lot, or just keep it to the present thing, not other things in the past. Remember what Stephen Covey said. Most people do not listen with the intent to understand. They listen with the intent to reply. Don't be that person. Don't be thinking about your response. Just validate them, love them, utilize some of these skills. My friends, timing is crucial when it comes to family communication. And Maya Angelou said this: I've learned that people will forget what you said. People will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. How do you make your kids feel? How do you make your spouse feel? I want you to consider this scenario really quickly. Your child comes home visibly upset after a tough day at school, and you're tempted to immediately ask what happened and offer advice. Instead, I want you to think about their emotional state and simply say, it looks like you had a hard day today. Do you want some alone time, or you want to cuddle for a little bit? What is it that you need that would be helpful? And just show them from your face and your tone that you love them, you're there for them, you're willing to help, but you're not going to push them. And this shows that empathy and allows your child to process their emotions before diving right into problem solving, which most of us want to do. When we want to fix it and it makes us uncomfortable, we just don't always know how to handle those feelings. When it comes to giving feedback and constructive criticism, the approach matters as much as the content. Again, the approach matters as much as the content. Daniel Goleman talks a lot about emotional intelligence, and he said this: if your emotional abilities aren't in hand, if you don't have self-awareness, if you're not able to manage your distressing emotions, if you can't have empathy and have effective relationships, then no matter how smart you are not going to get very far. My friends, interpersonal intelligence is everything, and it requires practice to hone this skill. It's paying attention to the feelings in the room, to the different cues that come up. So next time, instead of criticizing your spouse's parenting style in the heat of the moment, wait for a calm moment and then say something like this: I've noticed that we have some different approaches when it comes to bedtime routine. Can we talk about how to find a middle ground that works for both of us and works for the kids? So just a simple, tiny little shifts that you can make. Now I'm going to quickly recap some of those things that we talked about today. Interpersonal intelligence is crucial to have that healthier communication in your home and that better quality of life. Timing and approach are key when addressing issues with your family members, and that active listening and empathy are fundamental for effective communication. Continuous effort and patience are necessary to improve those family interactions. Please remember that developing interpersonal intelligence is an ongoing process. You are not going to nail this overnight, and it's going to be super simple if you just apply all these tips. You will have to practice. But as you hone these skills, you'll be able to create more fulfilling relationships with your spouse and your children, which is what I'm all about doing and helping others do themselves. My friends, thank you for tuning into Fulfillment Therapy today. We appreciate you showing up. Our team loves helping you become your best self in any way that we can. Don't forget to check out our courses at fulfillmenttherapy.org. We have 3 wellness courses that will take your personal life, your marriage, and your parenting to the next level. And we also have business courses if you want to start an online business and a podcast, but you're just not sure where to start or how to do it. We break it down step by step from the very beginning of, I don't know what to do, to making a lot of profit and being very successful and ranking high. It took me less than 18 months to be in the top 1% globally of podcasts. And I show you exactly how I did that and how you can replicate it if it's something that you want to do to spread those positive ripples and help other people become their best selves. All right, my friends, I'll see you back here in just a few days with a brand new episode to help you flourish and take fulfillment to the next level for both you and your family. Until then. Hey friends, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, chances are someone else would too. Would you take 30 seconds to share this with a friend who's looking for greater family fulfillment? And while you're sharing, tell me what you think about the show by leaving a review on Apple Podcasts. It refuels me when I hear this podcast is helping you. No matter what your house or your hair looks like, I'll meet you back here every Monday and Thursday morning for more episodes. Until then.